no doubt that the United States and every NATO ally will meet our Article 5 commitments, which says that an attack on one is an attack on all. Over the past few weeks, I ordered thousands of additional forces to Germany and Poland as part of our commitment to NATO. On Tuesday, in response to Russia's aggressive action, including its troop presence in Belarus and the Black Sea, I've authorized the deployment of ground and air forces already stationed in Europe to NATO's eastern flank allies, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Romania. Our allies have also been stepping up, adding the other allies, the rest of NATO, adding their own forces and capabilities to ensure collective defense. And today, within hours of Russia's unleashing its assault, NATO came together and authorized and activated an activation of response plans. This will enable NATO's high readiness forces to deploy and when and where they are needed to protect our NATO allies on the eastern boundaries of Europe. And now I'm authorizing additional U.S. force capabilities to deploy to Germany as part of NATO's response, including some of the U.S.-based forces that the Department of Defense placed on standby weeks ago. I've also spoken with Defense Secretary Austin and Chairman of Joint Chiefs General Milley.
Hello viewers and welcome to my YouTube channel, Viewpoint with Sajal. So I just wanted to chip in to actually post this video after noticing whatever is happening in the event of Ukraine and Russia. So my viewpoint is I would not be talking very long, but I would definitely be bringing about points. I call it failure, 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 and failure. And this failure goes to United States of America and specifically to Joe Biden. I mean, he would be remembered in the history, rather the world history, for being the most unsuccessful president of the United States. And why should I call the United States? I would rather prefer to call my country the India. And which ways? I mean, what have they achieved in Afghanistan? We all know. What have they achieved in Iraq? We all know. What have they achieved elsewhere, even the Vietnam? We all know. My point of view is NATO itself, I mean, to me, hold no relevance, because if at all NATO might have held any kind of relevance, they would have taken a military action against Russia. But that is not the case. Now we are more concerned about our stranded students in the tune of 18 to 20,000 who are there, but I'm deadly sure that our government, our Prime Minister, is competent enough to take them out and bring them back home safely. That is for sure. So even if anybody watching my video, so be rest assured, this is something, we are friends with Ukraine, we are friends of Russia, and so all the students out there, I mean, we Indians are, our entity is quite visible. So, I mean, there shouldn't be any issue. And if there is, then the government is there. Now, coming back to what they have done, I mean, the NATO, it's an abandoned organization which doesn't hold any relevance. Imagine a consortium of so many countries, around 30 countries rather, and as per their mandate, their charter, what it calls is that if there is an attack on any of the NATO allies, would be taken as an attack on all the remaining countries who are the part of NATO. What they were trying to do is, I mean, they were trying to pull in Ukraine. They must have given some kind of, illogical reasons that you join NATO, and probably United States wanted to reach to the borders of Russia, which Russia actually did not like. And any sovereign country would not like that. I mean, any threat coming to India would not be acceptable by us as well. However, I mean, we need to really understand, I mean, Russia has already started the invasion. If I may not say invasion, but yes, they have started the military action on the Ukraine. That is what we are seeing live over the news channels, over the news agencies. That is something which is coming our way. Now, what can NATO do? I mean, I was under an impression, I mean, any Tom, Dick, and Harry like me, I mean, a layman person would say that, I mean, 30 countries together would actually pounce on Russia, and Russia would be in a desperate situation. Now, what has happened, the latest development, which is there broadcasted on the news channels, and which I'm sure that many of you must not taken a note or might have not taken a note, is that they were Chinese, there was a Chinese oppression rather, into, or let me put it this way, the violation of airspace of Taiwan. So this is a clear understanding. If you cannot, I mean, what is this NATO good for? I really don't know. What is this NATO good for if you are provoking Ukraine to join and now you have left Ukraine on its own? Same way, I mean, China has today itself has violated the airspace of Taiwan. So now what is happening? Now what's up? Now how would you justify that? You're not even talking about. I heard Joe Biden. I mean, the loser. He's the loser. And for me, United States of America is the biggest loser. If I go back to the history, I mean, be it starting from Vietnam War or starting from the Cold War era, World War One, Two, whatever, which war I must ask has been won by the by so-called the United States? People, we are much better. Whatever wars the Indian Army has undertaken, they have brought it to the conclusion. 71 war, Bangladesh got its independence. Kargil, we got our heights cleared off. Siachen, we have our presence. Starting from the 47. So that is what it means, and this is what it takes for an army to be called a professional army that concludes a decisive victory. And we have no shame in admitting that yes, in 62, we were not only defeated, but we actually gave a bloody big job to the Chinese. So any which ways, this is a critical situation right now. And I don't know if you people can share your thoughts. If you want to, that's okay. But my viewpoint right now is, since you're watching Viewpoint with Sajal, so my viewpoint is that this is going to be a matter of maximum 8 to 10 days. In next 2 days, entire Ukraine would be captured by Russia, like it did in 2014 when it actually captured Crimea. And most recently, it has already announced 2 of the provinces as independent countries or states. Diplomatically speaking, there are 2 options. There are 2 things that I'm presuming. One, that Russia would capture the entire Ukraine. NATO, I give it a shit to NATO. All right. So it's a bullshit. I give it a shit to this NATO. Now, what is going to happen? Russia will capture Ukraine and will form a puppet government there and control it. Putin will control it. Number 2, the other option is Russia will further divide the country into furthermore countries or furthermore states, and it'll make Ukraine hold no relevance. So that is how it is. Now, all right, we have our students there. We know everything, and I'm sure. Why I'm sure? Because this is something our government has been tested and proven. There would be, I'm sure there would be rounds in the government circles to evacuate our students, and they'll bring back, because we are no enemy either to Ukrainians or we are neither enemy to Russians. But now, as of now, the focus of our government is, because we have not yet called off our missions, our embassies, either from the Ukraine or from the Russia. So to all those who watch me, who listen to me, please be rest assured, the government of India has proven on multiple occasions not only bringing back our citizens from die-hard situations, but then we have brought in the fucking Pakistanis, the bloody bastards, the assholes, the biggest blot on the earth, the Pakistanis. We have even rescued them. So let us see how it turns. Every moment, new thing is coming up. In fact, during this course of activity, Russia has also experienced losses in terms of its battle tanks, choppers. I have seen a couple of Russian soldiers that are in captivity as prisoners of war. And by the way, I'm not too sure how many of you know what is a Warsaw Pact. Now, Warsaw Pact is no more in existence. So my question is then why NATO is in existence? So we can relate that. You can study on this a little bit. If at all you are confused, put any question on the comments in the description box. I will answer and I will explain. So any which ways, people, let's pray and hope things get better. And from my end, take my words, this entire epicenter, what is happening in Russia and Ukraine, it will not be a full-fledged war at all. What best, the least US could do is what Biden just told. We have implied sanctions. Sanctions were implied on us as well when we conducted nuclear tests. So don't be bothered. Don't be bothered. After yes, but then there is a grave concern. Now we should be bothered. Either bother and rather let's see how things turn up in the future, because Russia and China have engaged themselves. So either it could be for a better reason, and China, because of United States, India, and China were not in a position to resolve the disputes. If at all, this is my perception. This is one of my perceptions. I may be wrong, but now because Russia is there with China hand in hand, so maybe there is a big possibility that our disputes with China would be resolved amicably. And on the second note, Pakistan would be given a back kick on the ass of Imran Khan and their army, and they will be asked to shut up. Pakistan cannot under any circumstances withhold a war with India more than a week if there is a full-fledged war. Take my words. That I can assure you. Though I'm not a strategic expert, neither I have an expertise on army, but then this is what I'm telling you, watching and listening and analyzing various sources. So in which ways, people, be rest assured, this is nothing. Again, in my previous video, like I mentioned, it is posturing. And today, hands up to Russia. Let's see now what happens next. So wait for my another video, and I shall be connecting with you. Thanks very much.